everybody, my name is Ling Minqua. Today we're going to be talking about the topic of climate change mitigation. So imagine you walk into your bathroom and you find the bathtub is overflowing. Maybe you or somebody forgot to turn off the faucet. Now water is pouring directly to the floor, ruining the rug and seeping to the walls because it is overflowing from the bathtub. Duh. Now you have two choices. First, you could grab a mop and start soaking up the water. That's called adaptation. Or you can reach our ground and turn off the faucet. Turning off the faucet is what we call as climate change mitigation. And so what are the two concepts here? First, adaptation. Adaptation is when something already happened and you go with the flow of it. So for example, if your environment that you're living in does not have any that a specific food that you like, then you have to work with it, then you have to deal with it, then you have to try to connect with other food. That's what we call as adaptation. But in that same sense of mind, if we go and we buy the food that we really like, then that is what's called as mitigation. So adaptation is when you go with the flow of something, but mitigation is you go with the flow of yourself. Now, while adapting to a warmer world is important, mitigation is the real work here, because adaptation alone could not solve the deep roots of a problem. It's the global effort to stop pumping greenhouse gas emissions like carbon dioxide into our atmosphere, because again, greenhouse gases is the biggest cause that leads into a warmer world in the overall world. Now, let's first talk about the energy revolution. So, the biggest leak in our bathtub is how we make electricity. For over 150 years, 150 years, we've burned coal, oil, gas, and it's been reliable, but it's dirty. Now, mitigation starts with what's called as renewable energy. Now, we're talking about wind, solar power, water power, etc. Those power that are charged by the renewable energy in our world. The best part here is that it's no longer inaccessible, and these aren't just experimental or only for the rich, only for the elites anymore. In many parts of our world these days, solar and wind are now cheaper than coal. But here, there's a catch. The sun always doesn't always shine. Water will one day stop flowing, and wind will one day stop blowing. That's why a huge part of mitigation is building massive batteries and smart grids that can store energy during the day. So you could still use it during, let's say, 2 a.m. And so that is what that really means of renewable energy. Moving on, let's talk about how do we move. We talk about what type of electricity we use. Now we talk about how we move. Transportation is one of the biggest causes of greenhouse gas emission. Think about every car, truck, plane, train, bus, etc. Even cargo ship on Earth. Most of them run on internal combustion engines. And basically, it's a tiny explosion of gasoline. And mitigation here looks like the EV revolution, which is electric vehicle evolution. But it's not just about everyone buying a Tesla or everybody buying VinFast. It's about public transit. One electric bus can take 40 cars off the road. One public transportation could bring thousands of people to the destined place. And for the big stuff like airplanes and massive shipping containers that can't run a battery yet, for sure, because the battery should be very enormous for something like that to be able to move entirely on the battery. Scientists are developing what's called as biofuels made from plants. Yeah, you heard me right. Made from plants, or even hydrogen fuel. And it's all about finding ways to get from point A to point B without leaving a single carbon trail behind us. Now, we also will be talking about the path to net zero. You heard this word a lot, right? Net zero. So where did this all lead? You've probably heard the term net zero. It doesn't mean we will never emit a single molecule of carbon dioxide into our earth again. We will for sure, right? But it means we want to get it to the point where we release the amount of carbon we do put out is perfectly balanced by the amount that we remove out. So that is what net zero means. So you put in this much of percent and you're able to take out that much of percentage, and those are equal to each other. That's what called net zero is. So you put in maybe 10 and you take out 10. That is what net zero is. And we do put out perfectly balanced by the amount we remove through forest or new carbon capture technology. Again, we all know it's a massive technology, it's a massive change. For almost 2 centuries, people have been trying, and it requires governments, big companies, individuals, etc. to change how they think about their resources. And it's about being smarter, not just doing less. It's work smarter, not work harder, right? The faucet is still running, we all know that. But for the first time in history, we got our hands on the handle. And now it's our only job for us to push that off. Thanks for watching, and let's keep the conversation going.